Everybody, welcome to the Wednesday Word. This week we're taking a look at Psalm chapter 23. So I encourage you, if you haven't read that yet, go take a look at the Monday meditation where we read through that verse. Take a look there, read through that with me, and then come back here to kind of unpack what this verse means. So I don't know if you guys have ever, assuming we've read it, taking a look at this verse kind of reminds me a lot about maps. So I don't actually have an object today because the maps that I use are on my phone. But with that, whenever we put that in, we put it in our destination, there's a lot of trust really involved in it. I mean, I don't know if you ever thought about this before, but whenever we really do this, we take whatever direction, whatever place we're trying to get to, we put it in our phones, and then it gives us the directions, shows us how we're going to get there and all that kind of stuff. And then we just go, and we trust that it's going to be able to take care of us. It has a really accurate idea of where we're at, because it has to know where we're at to be able to know where to get us to. And it has like the best route for us to get there and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of trust in this phone to take care of all that for us. And with that, the other part of that is sometimes it works really, really well. I don't know if you guys have ever done, you put it in your phone and it takes you right there and it's a really good route and you're like, oh yeah, this is the way I would have gone. Especially if like it's in your hometown, you're like, oh, I can't quite remember how to get there, and then you do it and you're like, oh yeah, I know how to do this and this is a good route and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes the routes are a little bit different than the way we would do this. I know we had this experience whenever we were coming back from Christmas to come back up here. When we were driving, we were going through, and it took us on a really, really weird route. It took all these back highways and 2-lane roads and all this kind of weird stuff. And I mean, it worked fine. We got back okay, got back around the same time I think we would have anyway, but it was a really weird route. But we just trusted that the phone had a better idea of how to get there than we did. And that's what Psalm 23 is kind of talking about here, is whenever we have those opportunities to trust, because David sets up at the beginning of this thing, this kind of shepherd-sheep analogy for us and God. The thing is about a sheep, it really has to trust that the shepherd is going to take care of it. Now, I may not think through that like, because it is a sheep, but it ultimately has to trust that the shepherd is taking it to the right place at the right time when it needs to be there. And that's what David kind of lays out, the same kind of thing for us and God. We have this opportunity whenever we're faced with those things that we aren't quite sure about how to get there, or even just anything in general. We have an opportunity to either say, okay, now I have the way I want to get there, and I trust that I have the better idea of how to get this thing accomplished. And it might work out sometimes, it might not other times, but that's an option. Or we have the option of trusting that God's idea of how to get us there is better than our own. And that's what David kind of lays out here is God's idea, God's plan for us to get there. It might be a little weird. Like whenever we were coming back from Christmas and we're like, this is the middle of nowhere. We don't know where we're at. This is kind of weird. It might be a little dangerous, a little scary even. David says this when he talks about how even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Because sometimes the path that God may lay out for us, the path that we may follow when we're following the shepherd, it might get a little crazy. Sheep sometimes have to go through ravines and dangerous places to get where the shepherd knows they need to go. Which is the other thing, that God knows where we're at right now and where we need to go. And that's what David kind of wraps the psalm up with when he talks about how at the end of this, David's like, yeah, and you will prepare a table before me, before my enemies. You will glorify me in front of my enemies, and I will dwell in your house forever. Because that's the thing about this. We ultimately know where we're going. We know where our destination is. We may not know every single little pain. We may not even understand where we're at right now, but we know where we're going. And God has the rest handled. So whenever, and this is what I'm going to kind of leave off here with, is whenever you have that situation, maybe you're looking to the future and you don't exactly know what you're going to do there. Or maybe right here, right now, you have some situation, some pressing thing, and you're like, I don't know what to do. I encourage you, spend some time praying and asking God for wisdom. And I guarantee you, just like a shepherd will guide his sheep, he will guide you. So I encourage you to spend some more time with Psalm chapter 23. Spend some time praying over what this means for your life today, and we'll see y'all next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.